If you think Bridgerton is only about glittering gowns, smoldering glances, and fairy tale romances sealed with a dance, you've been looking at the wrong story. Beneath the silk and chandeliers lies something far more calculated. In that dazzling world, every lesson a young woman learns from childhood has a single, unwavering purpose: to secure a husband. And yet, in a cruel twist, the very skills she spends her life perfecting lose much of their value the moment she whispers, "I do." What follows marriage is a reality far less romantic and far more complicated than the glittering ballrooms suggest. From the instant a girl is old enough to hold a paintbrush, her future is quietly shaped around her eligibility. She is not being prepared for fulfillment or even for true partnership. She is being prepared for presentation. Every movement, in every skill, every polite smile is designed to make her marketable in a ruthless marriage market. The training is meticulous and relentless. She must master the so-called feminine accomplishments, and failure is not an option. Playing the piano or harpsichord is essential. At any social gathering, she may be summoned to the instrument, expected to perform flawlessly while potential suitors watch and judge. A pleasant singing voice is more than charming. It signals refinement and proper breeding. Drawing and watercolor painting are practiced for hours, not for creative joy, but to demonstrate patience, delicacy, and cultivated taste. Even language is a tool of attraction. French is mandatory, Italian a coveted bonus. None of these are mere hobbies. They are qualifications, carefully polished, all leading to a single, life-altering goal. And yet, here is the strangest part of it all. None of those polished skills, neither the flawless piano pieces nor the delicate watercolor flowers, prepared a woman to manage a household or endure the realities of marriage. They were never meant to. They existed purely for display, carefully staged at balls, dinners, and social gatherings where watchful mothers and calculating suitors could assess each young lady like a finely wrapped product. Education, grace, charm, these were selling points, proof she was worthy of marrying into wealth and status. It was theater, and every girl understood she was both the actress and the merchandise. Some, however, learned to play the game in their own way. Penelope Featherington saw the system more clearly than most. Unable to rival Daphne's effortless popularity or Francesca's musical brilliance, and she leaned into the one talent that truly belonged to her: observation. While others performed, she watched. While others dazzled at the pianoforte, she listened. And from that quiet corner of the ballroom, she transformed herself into Lady Whistledown, wielding her pen like a weapon in a society that valued her least for who she was. But accomplishments were only the surface. Beneath them lay the suffocating labyrinth of etiquette. The rules were relentless. A young woman could never be alone with a man. Not for a stroll, not for a whispered conversation, not even for 5 minutes behind a garden door. A chaperone's presence was mandatory, because even the faintest hint of impropriety could shatter a reputation beyond repair. No scandal needed to occur. Simply being seen unaccompanied was enough to stain a name forever. The first names were forbidden territory until engagement. Imagine months of longing and stolen glances, yet still forced to say Mr. Bridgerton, holding intimacy at arm's length. The formality was deliberate, a barrier designed to keep emotions contained until the true foundation of marriage, money, alliances, status, was secured. Romance was merely the ribbon tied around a business contract, and nowhere was this tension more visible than at the balls. They were not celebrations, but carefully disguised battlegrounds. Every dance was an evaluation, every conversation, a test, every gown, a calculated choice. Families observed from the edges of the room, measuring posture, wit, grace, and restraint. A lady had to glide into a room with perfect composure, wield her fan like a coded language, curtsy correctly according to rank, often speak just enough to be charming. Never bold, never dull. It was a delicate performance, and the stakes were nothing less than her entire future. One misstep, one laugh too loud, one dance too eager, one rumor whispered at the edge of a ballroom, and a young woman could find herself quietly branded unmarriageable. The label did not need to be spoken aloud. It traveled in glances and unfinished sentences. Rosamund Lyle in Season 4 embodies the girl determined to avoid that fate at any cost. She attends every social event with disciplined precision, her gowns immaculate, her posture flawless, her smile carefully measured. She follows her mother's guidance as if it were scripture. Rosamund has trained for this arena the way an athlete trains for competition. every gesture rehearsed for the marriage market. And beside her stands her younger sister, Posy, a reminder of how fragile that polish truly is. Posy's awkwardness, her small social missteps, the flicker of anxiety behind her eyes, they reveal what happens when a girl doesn't quite fit the mold. In a world of constant evaluation, even being slightly different feels dangerous. What makes it more striking is that the training begins long before a debut. Even girls like Hyacinth Bridgerton are already being shaped for the future. In Season 4, there's a quiet moment where she learns the precise placement of spoons at a formal dinner table. It seems trivial, almost laughable, until you understand that mastery of such details could tip the scales of a proposal. In this society, nothing was too small to matter. A misplaced utensil could whisper carelessness, perfect etiquette, and on the other hand, signaled breeding, discipline, and worth. And then there is Eloise Bridgerton, who stands in sharp defiance of it all. She refuses to parade accomplishments for approval. She has no interest in dazzling suitors with rehearsed performances or cultivating refinement for display. Instead, she reads books that provoke and challenge her, hungering for knowledge not as decoration, but as nourishment. In the Regency era, this was nearly scandalous. Women were meant to collect accomplishments, not ideas. Intellectual ambition in a young lady was unsettling, even threatening. Eloise's desire to learn for the sake of learning, not for the sake of securing a husband, transformed her from an eligible prospect into a social inconvenience. One misstep, one awkward pause in conversation, one poorly judged dance, one rumor whispered too loudly, and a young woman could be branded unmarriageable. Rosamund Lyle stands as the perfect emblem of the traditional path. Immaculate gowns, flawless posture, obedient smiles, and absolute devotion to her mother's guidance. She moves through ballrooms like someone trained for a championship, conditioned for the marriage market with the discipline of an athlete. And then there is her younger sister, Posy, whose softer edges and social missteps reveal the other side of the system. The anxiety of never quite measuring up, of knowing that every entrance into a room is a silent audition. Even girls who have not yet debuted are already being shaped. Hyacinth Bridgerton, still young, studies the precise placement of spoons at a dinner table. It seems trivial, almost absurd, but until one realizes that mastery of such details could influence how an entire family judged her worth. In this world, nothing is too small to matter. And then there is Eloise Bridgerton, who dares to reject it all. She refuses to polish herself into something marketable. She reads not to impress, but to understand. She questions instead of curtsies. In a society that prizes accomplishments over intellect, her hunger for genuine knowledge is not admirable. It is disruptive. Wanting to learn for her own sake, rather than to secure a husband, turns her into a social anomaly. Courtship itself offers no relief. Before a man could even consider serious pursuit, he had to seek permission from the woman's father. If granted, the courtship unfolded under constant supervision, sometimes stretching on for years, and the couple never permitted true privacy. Letters and small tokens, perhaps a book, perhaps even a lock of hair, were exchanged only when engagement felt inevitable. It was all carefully orchestrated, painfully public, and strategically aligned. Families were not merely encouraging romance, they were negotiating alliances of wealth and status. One misstep, one lingering glance, one poorly timed laugh, and a young woman could find herself branded unmarriageable. Rosamund Lyle embodies the traditional path perfectly. She attends every event, dresses with precision, moves with rehearsed grace, and follows her mother's guidance as if it were scripture. She has trained for this arena the way an athlete trains for competition. Beside her stands her younger sister, Posy, a living reminder of how unforgiving the system can be. A touch of awkwardness, a social miscalculation, a flicker of visible anxiety. These small human imperfections become liabilities in a world where girls are constantly assessed. Even the youngest are not spared. Hyacinth Bridgerton, still on the cusp of girlhood, is already memorizing the exact placement of spoons at a formal dinner table. It sounds absurd until you realize that such details could tip the scales of a future proposal. Every movement mattered. And then there is Eloise Bridgerton, who dares to reject the script entirely. She refuses to perform accomplishments for display, refuses to treat education as ornamentation. She reads not to appear refined, but to think. In the Regency world, that quiet rebellion borders on scandal. Women were expected to cultivate charm, not intellect, to polish their manners, not question their circumstances. Eloise's hunger to learn for its own sake makes her less a debutante and more a problem.